The Cedric Maxwell Podcast is brought to you by Fanduel, the exclusive wagering partner of the CLNS Media Network.
All right, it's another episode of the Cedric Maxwell Podcast, and this one I'm very much looking forward to, man. Max, we got Marc Spears back on the show, fresh off his Hall of Fame weekend. So, of course, we'll get into that and plenty more, including a project that Marc's got coming out soon that we'll get into as well. And we got to get into the mess that's going down in Philly. Kristaps Porzingis has already got Celtics fans scared. He hasn't even put that uniform on, Max, and they're already talking about his first injury as a member of the Boston Celtics. But first things first, Marc, got to give you your props, man. We always keep it 100 here. That's what we do on the Cedric Maxwell Podcast. Man, Marc Spears, the recipient of the Gowdy Print Media Award, presented during Hall of Fame weekend at Mohegan Sun. Man, just tell me about your weekend. What was that like? What was that experience like? And just, coming back from all that, I know you're back home in Cali. Just take us through it, man. What was it like?
Man, I'm honestly, still trying to put it all in perspective. It was one of the most amazing weekends of my life to know that, I didn't score any points like Cedric did in the NBA, man, but I got in the Hall of Fame without scoring a bucket. Like, ain't that crazy, Ced?
Is that a backhanded slap?
No. What I'm saying, my point is, I didn't score a point.
No, I understand.
I didn't score a point, and somehow still able to get into this hall, which is just still stunning to me. Yeah. Like it came from my writing, it came from journalism. I've been covering NBA for 24 years now, and I'm not probably the prototypical writer. I've been writing a lot about race and culture for years. Been blessed to get a lot of players interviews behind the scenes and talk about things, whether it's African Americans or the lack of Black coaches or general managers or women in the industry or the LGBTQ plus community or Africans in basketball, things that were different. So I think that allowed me to get a different lane that perhaps they respected.
Yeah.
But I covered the Celtics when they won. I covered, the Denver Nuggets for 8 years, been covering NBA since 99. Also, even before then, I covered Nolan Richardson in Arkansas and Denny Crum in Louisville. So I guess they respected what I did, but, to be on that stage, to get that ring, to be there with Tony Parker and Dirk and Pop and Powell and D Wade and Becky Hammond, like, it was pretty surreal experience. And, I got to say a speech in front of all those guys and whoever was watching and my mom. I think
that's the best part, right?
The best part, man, was that my mom, my wife, and most particularly my mom got to enjoy it. And, my father has ALS. He's been fighting that for a long time. And so my sister flew to New Orleans to be with my father so my mom could attend. So it wasn't easy for her to get there.
Wow.
So to have my mom stand up and basically do her little, I don't know where she learned that from. But give her flowers, and for my dad, still be here and to hear me say a speech, with everything that he's going through, like, that certainly meant the world to me and will always mean the world to me.
Man, that is incredible. And I'm only saying it in jest because I think you are so well deserved. Being since you said all that, I'd like to know what's a couple of the biggest surprises you've had since you've been doing this. Sometimes you meet somebody or you say something like, "Oh, I didn't know that." What were the biggest? And then I got to follow up though. You give me also the biggest disappointment that you had.
It's funny. Pop said I was fair years ago, and that meant a lot to me that he said I was fair. So I have Pop in one of the biggest and the most disappointing. How about I do that?
That's fitting. I feel like that's
yeah. So Pop years ago, unsolicited, told me, he's like, "Man, I mean, this is maybe 6-7 years in. I really like your writing. You're fair. You're fair." And that means a lot, right? That for somebody of his stature to say that they like what I do and I'm fair, that meant a lot to me. So like when during NBA All-Star Weekend, they announced that I won the Kirk Gowdy for print. And I saw him shortly afterwards in New Orleans. Like, man, congratulations, man. I'm so happy for you. And I'm like, yeah, Pop, your turn's coming soon too. I mean, this is crazy. And so about several weeks later, Pop gets announced at the Final Four. And we got this kinship, right? He said I was fair. We both going to the Hall of Fame. So I asked him, I said, so Coach, man, this is in a press conference situation. Who are some of the most meaningful calls and texts that you received? And he said, I don't know you like that. Why would I share that with you? Oh, man, crushed, man, crushed. Oh, man. I thought we was, you know what I'm saying? I thought we had a moment before, I thought I was in. I thought I was going to get some of his wine. And he's like, I don't know you like that, dude.
Wow.
Like, next question.
You just another guy with a press pass. Asking me a question I don't want to
answer. But while I was there, like, me and Tony, like, it's interesting now because these dudes are my era, right? Like, I started covering the league in 99, and Tony came in, and I believe in 2000.
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne came in, like, maybe Dirk was just getting started at that time. Powell was around that time, and D Wade, 4 years after, and I covered Melo at the beginning, so there was a lot of D Wade connection. But Tony was like so happy for me, man. Like I was like surprised that he was that happy for me, And there have been some guys that have really expressed happiness for me that really meant a lot, like Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum were on a video that ran last Friday on the NBA Today that's the one that brought me to tears and nobody saw. Like back in my hotel room, but I was like, good, that got the tears out of the way before the event tonight. So, I know if I get it out early, it ain't coming back later, right? But like I remember being in the locker room last year and Draymond just like, you're in the Hall of Fame, man. You're in the Hall of like Draymond going crazy about it, And so, like the Warriors, they're really classy, man. Like Steve Kerr texts me, former President Rick Welch texts me, Mike Dunleavy, their new GM, texts me, and I know Raymond Ritter, their PR guy, has a lot to do with that. So that means a lot. But I'm like trying to think like Rick Carlisle texted me, and I'm trying to think of like some of the surprising texts that I have that were they just came. Reggie Miller texted me today.
Wow.
Which was like dope. Like Reggie Miller, like Charles Barkley texts me. Like I used to have their posters on my wall, man. And now these dudes are telling me congratulations.
I think it's so cool when you think in that way. It's just like playing against those guys. When I played against them, remember the first time I walked into a room and JoJo White was sitting there and Collins was sitting there and Havlicek was sitting there. I was like, damn, I'm really in the NBA. And I'm sure that when that happened to you, you had to be thinking the same way. Wait a minute, hold on. This is D Wade, this is Dirk, this is this. Yeah. And you it's just a surreal moment that makes you think how special your life has been, but how you've affected people. And that's the coolest thing that, I've ever had. Even when you have somebody who says something, for me, they don't say anything bad about you, but I've had several guys walk up to me. Eric B. Enemy, he said, I was on a press thing with him for Omega Psi Phi because we're members. And I said something. He said, Cornbread, I just want to say, I hated you when you were playing. I was like, damn.
or did he say Eric B. Enemy hated you?
Eric B. I was like,
did he say it in first person? Eric B. Enemy hated you as a player.
Yeah, I hated you. But it really shows me, it's just like when you do talk radio or TV, that even when people are critical of you, they have stopped for a moment in their lives just to criticize you or say something good. That means like you were thought of and you made a difference. And I think that's
but I was going to tell you this too is one, I said on another podcast earlier today, they act like, how do I deal with criticism? I said, if they ain't hating, you ain't popping. Right?
You're not doing enough.
Well, two things I forgot. A couple things. When I was walking into the Hall of Fame, Spo gave me some love. Jamal Mosley, the coach of the Magic, went out of his way to give me a love. Nico Harrison, the president of the Mavs. Bam Adebayo put his arm around me when we were walking in. And, I covered Melo. Melo's the first star in the NBA I covered. And I think I owe a lot to him getting my name out there because people were curious about him. And I hadn't seen him since he retired. So we finally bumped into each other. He gave me a hug. And I was like, man, thank you, man. You see, I got in. He's like, man, you did the work, man. You deserved it. And I'm like, you helped me get there, man. He's like, nah, you got there yourself. Ray Allen said the same thing.
Man.
Saw Ray afterwards. He said, you put in the work, Mark. You put in the work.
Ray, I'm going to ask you one other question before I get back to Josue. What did you forget to say in your speech? Because that's always the thing. And let me just preface that, because when I had my jersey retired at the Boston Garden, I was thanking people. I said, thank my mom was there, my dad was there, my sister was there. And I was about to say something else. And then the Omegas start barking and I acknowledged them. And then I go off stage and it was done. My brother was there. I didn't acknowledge him.
Well, were you going off the top of your head? Or did you have
what
notes?
did you forget that, you might have wanted to say, like, hold on, wait, I forgot to mention.
Did you have notes?
No, hell no.
See, that's more.
Max
had a cheat code, man. They put the speech up there for us to read. So
football season's about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you a chance to win all season long. Because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. Just pick any team to win the Super Bowl, and you'll get bonus bets for every victory. You can use your bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/Boston.
You know what the thing is? It's like Mike Monroe, you remember him, the writer, was in Denver and San Antonio. Neil Scarborough hired me at the Denver Post. Like, in hindsight, I'm like, maybe I should have mentioned their names too. You know what I mean? Like, but they know where I am with them. They know I love them, right? And I mentioned them on other things. Maybe that's perhaps it. But I don't know that you can mention everybody.
No.
Like we'd be sitting there all day, but I mentioned everybody in a group, right?
Sean Grandy, my current broadcast partner, later on told me, you didn't mention my name. And I said,
there was a reason why.
No. I said, no, I didn't. I said, I didn't even mention my brother's name. But then what I said to cover all that is I said, anybody who has loved me and I have loved them back, you are part of what this is about. And therefore, I thought I covered my ass by saying that.
Mic drop.
One time this dude told me, I heard you said I was a sellout. and he didn't know how to respond because he thought I was going to deny it. And I was like, no, I didn't. I do feel that way, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that was definitely like the top, like, how did I get here moment. I don't mean that as in like you like shocked, but it just must have been so surreal. What are some other moments throughout your career?
But you like you guys are media guys, like it's kind of like I went into work mode. Like I had a speech to say, man, I couldn't mess that up. My mom was there, my wife there, they're in the front row, my uncle, my dad's watching at home. Practice before, let's go. So in a sense, like when I went up there, if you watch the speech, like it's like I'm not even tripping. And they're like, Dwayne Wade told me afterwards too, he said, man, you had a lot of jokes. He's like, that's hard to make people laugh in a speech. I'm like, oh, okay. One of the things I said, I talked about my jumper as a basketball player. I said it was more perk than dirt. I guess people like that.
You know exactly what. See, you painted a perfect picture, man. Yeah, that's good.
I like Max like that one. He like that.
Oh,
one.
That's good. I love it.
I'm sorry, big fella. I'm sorry, big fella.
Yeah, no, but that's perfect. That's great. I mean, those are the ones you can sneak into the speech. You're gonna.
You know what I think? People said that. Holly Rowe went before me, and she went like 20 minutes. She was supposed to go 6.
Dang.
So I was like, bro, I'm gonna tell y'all something. This is funny. I was like sitting there. I'm listening to her speak. I didn't tell Holly this either. I'm like, well, goddamn, if she can go 20 minutes, I'm going more than 7. You know what I mean? Like, I added some stuff to my speech after that. I'm like, nah, dog, that ain't fair. She gonna go 3 times as long as me. No, I'm gonna go a little bit more. So I added some stuff because she, you know, and her speech was incredible. But like they were saying, like her speech was really emotional.
Was the light blinking?
No,
because they
I did look. Hey, I did look back. Okay. I did look back at the monitor, like just to look at it, and it just said
Mark's like, you're gonna start playing music or something?
It just said 7 minutes. It just said 7 minutes, right?
Oh wow!
But I was like, nah, hell nah. If she gonna go along, I'm gonna go along too. And hers was like very emotional. You know, she battled cancer and won, and she, you know, has a son and gone through a lot of stuff, and you know, and I've gone through a lot of stuff too, and I talked about that. But mine was more like comedic and lighthearted and fun. And I did shout out my boys who were there, and they dog barked, you know, so that was cool.
Got to do it.
But I give it, Max, if you haven't seen it, I'll send it to you because I think you'd find it entertaining.
Never. This is the thing I always say about all that. Never follow a woman or a child in those kind of things. You just not going. You just don't win. There was a woman that I was inducted into the North Carolina Hall of Fame, and I followed a woman whose husband had died, and she's receiving it, and everybody was emotional. And then I came up there, I'm like, they told me never follow a woman or a child.
Yeah.
Everybody bust out laughing. So
that's all you need, right? You need to lighten
it up a little bit. Lighten it up.
Because Malika Andrews introduced me. She's from Oakland. You know, I mentee of mine. She gave me a really warm announcement, right? Or introduction. And so I, to your point, said, I was like, Bay Area in the house, my girl Malika, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's go. I said,
you got
like,
Chicago
talking about Chicago and Germany. I was like, Bay Area's in the house, and my boys were like, yeah. They're like, who's this crazy hood dude they done put on stage? Like, you're like, you know.
Josue, I want to ask him now, what are we going to expect next? Because you have this great project that is at Hulu that's coming out.
Mark, tell us about the Conversation project that's coming out on Hulu, man. It sounds really interesting.
So should I tell y'all the whole story because it's actually NBA related?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I have
you got the whole story.
I have a really good friend by the name of Chef David Lawrence. And Max, when y'all come out here, I got to take you to his restaurant. You got a steakhouse. It's in Healdsburg, a little bit of a hike from San Francisco, but it'll be worth it. But at the time when I met him, he was in San Francisco. He had this amazing, like, white tablecloth soul food restaurant that was outstanding. LeBron went there, Kobe went there. You know, the prices of the place got too high, so he moved to Sonoma and started stuff there, which seems crazy that wouldn't be high too, but here we are. So anyways, I'm a big wine person. I live in the Bay. I'm an hour away from Napa Valley. I'm up there all the time. I go to visit him. And Maria Taylor texts me, says her and her husband were going to Napa. Can I give her some recommendations of where to go, where to eat, blah, blah, blah. And the chef goes, how often do you get these texts, these calls? I said, all the time. He's like, we got to do something with that. And I agreed. And I remembered that I was on a Zoom call with work and Andscape, formerly Undefeated. They were like saying that, hey, we're going to be doing some stuff with Hulu. We're going to take pitches for TV shows. So if y'all have any ideas and y'all could get a trailer or, you know, something, let us know. And I listened. And we came up with this concept where Terrence Mann from the Clippers came to Napa, and we brought him to Charles Krug Winery, and I interviewed him in amongst the vines, and I interviewed him in the tasting room. And then Chef brought him into a private kitchen and curated a meal. They both have Caribbean roots. You know, Terrence is from Boston area too.
That's right. Yeah.
And he curated a meal based on Terrence's, you know, lineage. And then we went and had this big dinner, and it was Brian Shaw, his wife, who's a chef, Nikki, W. Kamau Bell, the comedian, activist, and a Black woman by the name of Brene Royale. And so we had the food, the wine, and we had dinner and a great conversation. And we did a pilot, and then they came back and said, well, we like the dinner. I was like, well, what about that? We like the dinner. And then I told myself, Mark, shut up. They trying to give you a TV show.
Oh.
And so I shut up, and they changed the name, decided to call it the Conversations Project. They added a host by the name of amazing woman by the name of Elaine Welteroth. She's on Project One Way. She was also the editor of Teen Vogue. She's written books. She just was on Kevin Hart's, podcast. She's amazing. I truly enjoyed working with her. And so the way the show goes, and Max, like, Joe, like, when Cosby Show came out, like, I loved it. And I was around educated and well-to-do Black folks. My mom brought me around a lot of, like, people of color that were successful for a reason, to see that, to be around it. Mm-hmm. So when I saw the Cosby Show and I saw, a Black lawyer and a Black doctor, I didn't blink an eye, but I just remember people laughing at that. And even as a kid, I didn't like that. I remember being in love with Mo Better Blues because the way them dudes were, the swag and the way they carried themselves, the way they dressed, and they lived in these lofts.
Mark, that was me with New York Undercover. We had a Latino detective. There were partners, a lead for a cop show, which is the first time that ever happened at that time. Yeah. That's how I feel about that. The representation, right? The lead detective and a black man and a Latino man. Lead detectives for a show is pretty cool.
Yeah. And then I, Love Jones and Boomerang, like those movies really meant something to me, right?
Yeah.
And there's just been a lot of TV shows out that's like drug related with Black people, gang related with Black people, throwing drinks at people, girl, blah, blah, blah. Oh. Bam. I'm like, we bigger than that. Like, and so I wanted to create something where we are seen in the light that we are. Like, we go to dinner. Seb, me and you been to dinner. Joe, I've been to dinner with you. We have some deep conversations.
Right.
So I wanted to bring the world into what it's like in true reality with Black folks, right? That there are a contingent of Black people, a large contingent of Black people, most Black folks, educated, successful, doing big things. And so we're basically, these dinners are iron sharpens iron's dinner. With me, Elaine, and the chef, and we invite 5 new people each of the 6 episodes of varying genres of success in the entertainment world, the sports world, the music world, or even like the guy there was a Black astronaut who calls himself an Afronaut. Comedians, like, so each table was curated, transgender, where, like, for people that have never met anybody transgender, then you're going to go to dinner with somebody transgender this night. And is
it open conversation? Or is there an agenda?
Open conversation, but like what Chef does is we bring out 3 different courses. Instead, you're going to want to jump in the TV and eat some of this food, man, when you see it.
Sure
you're going to hit me like, damn, when we go into this man restaurant, like, he got black-eyed pea cake.
Ooh. Black-eyed pea what?
And it tastes black-eyed pea cake.
Wow.
Yeah, as an appetizer, like almost like what's the word I'm looking for? Cornbread, but made out of peas, black-eyed peas, and just amazing food. So, but with each course is a different topic. We could be talking about reparations. We could be talking about the N-word. We could be talking about generational wealth. Like, these are deep conversations that we have. And then also we're highlighting Black vineyards. So every show we're drinking a Black-owned wine.
Man, you know what? That is so cool. And for you to say that, to bring all that together, man, congratulations, because
I can't wait to watch it.
As you said, we just don't see enough of that. One of my favorite movies of all time happened to be Love Jones. Yeah. And Nia Long obviously was, the woman who was with Ime, and I got a chance to.
Yo, Mark, you should have seen the way this dude was acting when he met her, man.
I'm not overly impressed by people, but that movie That movie, no, it was the movie to me, the way it was set up. It was Black people. Exactly what you said. Your trailer reminded me of when they were sitting around at the table talking about different subjects and stomping on each other, but at the same time being respectful. I hate, and I'm going to say it loud, I hate the shows that they have on now, where they have the Black people throwing wine bottles at each other and cursing, and the women.
Oh, the reality shows. Yeah.
The eyelashes I'm seeing on these women look like they got butterflies on their faces right now.
But when you watch this, I promise you, one, you're going to want to jump in the screen and join us for dinner. And two, if you're with some folks, I've been with some folks and they continue the conversation. Like, because it's just it's just like, I'm really proud of it. And I'm going to be honest, man, like two things. One, you don't have to be Black to watch it. Okay. I do think that it's important that everybody watches it so they could get,
I said it might help.
Yeah. But we need everybody to watch it, man, because I think people need to really learn about our pain, our triumphs, why we feel the way we feel. And what better way to get an insight on what Black people truly are going through and what they're like than to have dinner with them, right?
Well, let me ask you this, since you said that. How was it when did anybody talk about what happened in Montgomery? When the Black man threw his head up in the air and said, "Come on,
February."
We had the brothers swimming over it.
That's season 2. But you saying we should have all folding chairs around the table?
Oh my God, it just seems so. Now let me ask you this question about getting a little bit.
But to your point though, like we had to be careful about what we asked about, because I like, for example, like that story is so crazy that people are going to be talking about that 5 years from now, right? So I do think in the season 2, we could all reflect on what we saw and how we felt about it, right?
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, we had to be careful about the topics, because if it was too timely, it may not be interesting.
Yeah.
Like, by the time that episode comes out, so it all had to be like timely curated in which
kind of like evergreen
about.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a basketball question then. You've heard James Harden speak and saying Daryl Morey's a liar. Where's this going? Who, what, where, how is this going to end?
I don't know. I don't like it on both sides. The fact that he said what he said in China is very quite curious to me, because I don't think a lot of people realize or remember like Daryl Morey's situation in China. And we don't have to go back on it, but because of what he said, and like the Sixers games aren't shown in China.
Yeah.
Like any team when he was in
the
Rockets
when he said that, right? Exactly.
Yeah. But since moving to the Sixers, like they don't show their games because of him.
Right.
So by making that comment so strongly about Morey, I think, and to make it in China, might have made him somewhat a hero there. I'm not sure what the reaction is. Someone did hear that the people there were kind of taken aback, because people don't really speak like that out there, by how he said it, but he said it there, which basically, probably got him some kudos in China. But that being said, man, like when you look at how Dame's handling it versus James, like Dame ain't like that. Dame ain't gonna say that. We know they both want the same result, obviously with different teams. But I think after this, and this is said respectfully to James, who's an amazing player, but if you're a team, regardless to what happened, regardless to what was promised, do you want him on your team when if things don't go his way, that could be his response?
Right.
Is his game worth the risk of him popping off if he's not happy? Because he wasn't happy in Houston, he wasn't happy in Brooklyn, he wasn't happy in Philly, so it makes him think you're going to be happy with me.
Right.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, it's a bad selling point.
And
it is.
So the Clippers, I was basically told that the Clippers certainly we're very open-minded to taking them, but they're just waiting for all this, the fire to burn. And they feel like then, I think if the Clippers deal gets done, they'll be lucky to get Terrence Mann as the best player out the deal.
Wow.
That's what
That's
I think.
a big if, though, Mark, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now
you heard what I said. They'd be lucky to get Terrence Mann out of the deal. Because basically it's turned into a fire sale. The one difference with Dame is you have a team in Miami that also is very professional, and they're gonna do things quietly the right way. And Dame isn't saying nothing.
Mm.
He hasn't said nothing, isn't saying nothing. So, and when he does, I'm sure it will be in a professional manner. So I do think that teams just, regardless of what the NBA says, is like teams respect Dame.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what he wants at this stage of his career, top 75 player, I think they're going to respect that and hope he gets his way. We got to remember that training camp doesn't start for another month and a half. Right. So I know NBA fans, media, we want everything to happen overnight. They got time. Mm-hmm. So all this like banging in the drum right now, it's good for us to talk about, but it don't have to happen tomorrow, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it happened. They got time. The first game ain't to what, October 24 or something like that. That's more than 2 months away. So
when will he understand that? I guess as you get to be an older player, obviously he has great skills, but you can't paint yourself into a corner. If you are a basketball player and you start to get older and your skill set starts to erode, you ain't carrying that kind of weight the way you did 5 or 6 years ago to make it happen the way you want them to happen.
You know, there also becomes a point, too, where teams start saying, is he worth it for that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, when you're scoring 30 points a game, like I am one of the few people that you can make a documentary about it. And this is somebody I truly love, but Allen Iverson's Grizzly days. How quick that ended, right? When they decided that they wanted him to come off the bench and he wasn't happy with it. So my point is, it's like you got to be really, really careful with this stuff, man. Because once you hit a certain age, like Iverson was cut.
Yeah.
And they get old real quick, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you also got to remember how you're going to be remembered, because every time you throw out these flares, that's a part of your, like, you can't write the James Harden story without writing all these things, these controversies. It's going to be on his bio. Mm-hmm. It ain't going to be just about scoring. It's not. He's going to make the Hall of Fame, but there's going to be a contingent of people like, man, what if he just played, man? Like,
right.
What if he just handled it behind the scenes?
If you're him, you don't want that to be the narrative, right?
Like, who's going to be the team that's going to, you know? I'm going to tell you something. You see, I got this San Jose State thing on, right? If you go look at the program, story written by Gary Washburn about me in the Hall of Fame program, the first sentence, I wanted to kill Gary. He said, Marc Spears was hungry. A young Marc Spears was hungry. I'm like, Gary, what you trying to say, dog? Like, why didn't you say motivated? Why you had to put hungry? Like, I'm a big dude as it is, man. Why you gonna write a book, Marc Spears?
You read that and you saw Gary with a big smile on his face as he was typing away.
I think Gary was trying to get me back, but he wrote an amazing story. But in the midst of this program, there was an ad from San Jose State in it saying, congratulations, Marc, for making, and it was bigger than the University of Utah ad, by the way, that Holly got. University of Utah, you needed to step up and give Holly a bigger ad. San Jose State stepped up and had twice as big an ad, son.
Wow.
Spartans. So anyways, my point is, if you look through the program, Wade, Miami Heat, like I think the Chicago Bulls, you know, obviously Dirk, Dallas Mavericks did a big thing, Tony with Spurs. Like, who's going to put that ad for James?
Yeah.
Who's going to be like, he going to get in because 3 years after he retires, but where, like, is Houston going to retire a jersey?
Right.
OKC going to retire a jersey?
Yeah.
Like, where do you lay your head when you're done, right?
That's a great point, man. Yeah, that's a great point.
Gary Payton is teamless because he played so long. All his great years were in Seattle. He's only teamless because there's no team in Seattle, right?
Right.
But when you're done and you're waiting for somebody to give you a hug, and like I always wonder why, like Kareem, and you said you know this better than me. Like, what did Kareem do that made everybody dislike him so much that he never got any opportunities afterwards? Because when you're done, I don't care how great a player you are. If people find you to be unpleasant, they remember that when you're done playing, and they hold that against you like a scarlet letter.
Yeah,
am I wrong, Ted?
Yeah, Kareem was so intellectually smart that he turned people off by whatever it was. I remember he coached for a little while in a very small league.
Never got to be a head coach,
but he never really. You think about it, never was an assistant coach.
Yeah,
I mean, he just did. The NBA just did not care, and it's really funny you say that. I just saw Kareem at the autograph sign in Chicago probably a couple of weeks ago. But you're right. At the end of the day, when you think about who you are and what you've done in this league, I think that we're all proud to be in the league and the great accomplishments that he had. But sometimes you just piss people off. Kareem never wanted people to like him, and I think that's the biggest thing. He wanted to be respected, and he was. Because he just wanted to go about it and do it his way and play basketball.
Do you think it's cost him millions?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Magic's making a mint.
Oh, the personality. Well, I mean, you think about somebody.
Max, can you overstay your welcome? Is that what you're trying to say?
Would Larry Bird be making more money right now if he had Magic's
if he wanted
personality?
to?
Huh?
He has personality. He just don't care.
He doesn't. It doesn't come out like that.
Yeah.
Larry is. I talked to.
Well, I know, and you know, because obviously you know, but I've been privy to spending some time with him off the court, and he's one of my favorite people. But he's French lick. He hiding. He done. Like he got money. He good.
Right. Yeah, he's not gonna jump in front of a camera.
Like if somebody said to me, like, what NBA player, former player, would you love to go to dinner with? Larry Bird might be number one on that list.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, Jordan would be number one.
You know what? You know what would be on my list? I think
Larry would be like a 2-hour dinner with Larry with some wine would be amazing.
Kareem, well, you're gonna have to drink beer first of all, bro. You ain't drinking wine, all right?
You're right.
Back off that.
Blue ribbon.
To me, it would be Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because I idolized him when I was in college. My number 33 I wore in honor of him. Now, the thing that was so funny about that is when, I finally met him and played against him, I always told people he did something to me. He ran down the court and for no reason, he elbowed me. And I always told people, I said, it didn't hurt me, but it hurt my damn feelings though.
Yeah.
I was like, my favorite dude, favorite player just elbowed. But you know what it made me think though? It also made me think exactly what you said. I made a difference in the game. So he was pissed. Nobody. He doesn't do anything.
He's trying to test you.
But
I unfortunately, respectfully to the great Bill Russell, like I've even been at a dinner table with him and he had no interest in talking to me. I've been at events with Kareem and he doesn't say a whole lot. You know what I mean? But I feel like I would have I interviewed Larry in India. I've had a beer with him in Sweden in the ice bar during the European Championships.
Wow!
Like he, the little bit of time I was in the league when he was GM with the Pacers, he always was great.
Wow!
So I say that because I feel like the conversation would be amazing. Like I don't want to go to dinner with somebody, no matter how big they are, if they ain't gonna say nothing. You know what I mean? Or if they're not. They don't care about me as a person.
But you say that, and this is respectful.
And they don't have to.
This is respectful to Larry.
Yeah.
I would dare say, out of his teammates, the guys that I played with, DJ, myself,
God rest DJ soul.
None of us really had I remember having one dinner with Larry Bird.
That's it.
But that was it, because we didn't become close. Robert wasn't close to him. Kevin wasn't. I don't even think Kevin was close to him to have a dinner.
And I'm not saying he want to have dinner with me.
Because
I think if I went to dinner with him, I'd get him to talk.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Now, that being said, their PR guy, who was a wonderful man who passed away, I once asked him about asked Larry about connecting with him. He's like, yeah, reach out to him.
Wow.
So, it's the great Tommy Shepard told me once. He said, if you're waiting for an NBA player to give you a hug, you're wasting your time.
I like that.
But Max gives me hugs.
That's right. I guess
every once in a while.
So tell us right now what you heard about Porzingis. Is this a foot injury? Because you talk about 7-footers. When they hurt their feet, a lot of times that's the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly scary injury, but that's one that with rest she should be fine. And
okay,
I'm gonna err on the positive side, because the fact that he decided not to play with his team, again, we're still 2 months away from camp, right? I think it sounds to me that it's important for him to do well with Boston, to make sure he's okay with Boston.
Well, I think he wants to form a legacy.
Yeah.
And his legacy right now is incomplete.
Yeah.
You think about him being in New York.
I think this is his last chance.
Yeah. This is it. Yeah, this is
his last chance. And
yeah,
the hill that he has to climb is Marcus Smart is gone. And he was beloved. On and off the court, he was beloved. So I think that trade, and y'all closer to it than me, it still stings, still confusing to probably folks. But this dude is a special talent, and if he is a healthy third scorer, he's a heck of a third scorer, boy. That's a problem. If that's your third guy,
they're saying right now
every championship team has that third guy. That's a problem.
Well, yeah,
Paul, Ray, KG, right?
Yeah,
they were a problem. Warriors, right? KD, Clay, Steph, problem.
It's a 20-plus point scorer. Yeah, that's the significance of it for sure. Yeah.
So they need. It's a gamble. Will it work? Only heaven knows, right? We'll see. But yeah, I think anything injury-wise with him, especially Max, you know how these 7-footers are, man, 7'3". But he probably knows that he better come to camp ready, because if you don't come to that place ready, they will eat you alive.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no place better to watch a basketball game than Boston.
Marc, I wanted to ask you.
No place better to be, maybe New York, but ain't too many places in any sports as good to be a star than Boston. There's not much better atmosphere to be in than the Garden.
Right, exactly.
But
that's what I was going to say.
If you messing up, they're going to let you know.
Right.
They're going to let you know. I don't care if his jersey is green and white. If he's trash, they're going to throw him out.
Yeah, it's true.
So he played in what? He did play in New York, but Melo was there. He was young. So he didn't get the same pressures, right? Went to Dallas, didn't work. Went to Washington, Boston is at this stage of his career is the greatest animal he will face. And let's see if he tames it.
Marc, earlier you talked about legacies, and I just wanted to get this question in real quick before I forget it, because when it rains, it pours in Philly, right? With the whole James Harden, what he had to say out in China and everything, that obviously got fans concerned. But now you fast forward, I think it was about 24 hours after that report, after that video surfaced online, Joel Embiid scrubbed anything that had anything to do scrubbed everything that had anything to do with the Philadelphia 76ers out of his Twitter bio. And of course, fans are worried about this. Could this be that a type of mark on James Harden's career if that were to happen, if a year from now or even sometime at this season,
he scrubbed Sixers stuff or Harden stuff off?
What's that?
He scrubbed Sixers stuff off or Harden stuff off?
Sixers stuff off.
Yeah.
So now people
who he paying? There's not enough time to pay attention to who follow who and
Sixer fans, man.
Like he don't follow Sixers no more. Like who has time? Said who has time for that?
But could Joel Embiid actually won out of Philly because of this whole thing? Do you see that happening?
They're a mess, man. I don't know. I just know that they're on.
You got to couple this with the interview he did about a few weeks ago, saying that he just wants to win a championship. He doesn't care where it's at. So obviously, Philly fans didn't like that, as well.
Wow.
Hey, man, I don't know what to say about them. And meanwhile, Boston's just laughing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's Lakers first on the hate list for Boston, and then number 2 is Sixers. Am I correct?
Yeah, exactly.
So you guys are enjoying that whole. You know that said. You ever seen the meme where the dude he's swinging, and there's a big house fire behind him, but he's still on the swing.
He's just chilling. Yeah.
That's Celtics fans right now. Like the Sixers are burning behind them. They fired Doc. They James Harden thing and. Just Celtics fans just swinging away.
They can't wait for the season to start, of course.
They're like, burn, burn, burn.
Well, right. Man, we ain't gonna hold you.
Hold on, real quick, man. I just want to ask one last question about the Hall of Fame.
You go ahead and ask your last question.
Which one was your favorite speech, man? I know there's a lot of guys out there. Obviously, you mentioned Wade.
Sorry, Tony Parker. Tony's my guy too, but Wade was
Tony.
You know why? Because a lot
Gabrielle
of times
was standing there.
We don't see black men in positive lights. And he started his speech with his dad. He ended with his dad, and he walked off the stage with his father. And that was beautiful for me to see. And I did, and I took some pictures, but I still have the picture of him and his father. And it made me think of my father who couldn't be there. And I just think there's so many black men that get, unfortunately, a horrible rap about fatherhood and stuff like that, that we need more positive images like that. When I go to the draft every year, most of these black players in a predominantly black draft and a predominantly black league, when they are selected, their dad is there.
Yeah.
This ain't, their dad is there. Their dad is involved. Their dad's educated. So the narrative of us being like just these wild dudes out there with all these, that was one of the most beautiful moments I ever seen.
Yeah,
maybe the best moment, most memorable moment to me in all the Hall of Fame speeches.
Especially the way he ended it, man. Like, Pops, we made it. We made the Hall of Fame, and of course, he's also the Dwayne Wade. So it's just it was a great way to just finish off that speech, man. I thought he did a tremendous job. That's my answer too. I just want to talk about that real quick. Well, appreciate you, man.
The Conversations Project, August 28th.
Go ahead, Max. I was going to say, go ahead, Max.
Conversations Project, August 28th. On Hulu, August 28th. All 6 episodes come out. 2 days later, we're going to have a special season wrap-up episode. And also for the Celtics fans listening to this internationally, it's going to be on Disney+.
Oh, there you go.
So check it out.
Can't miss it.
Thank August you, man. 28th. We appreciate your time, bro, and coming on with us. And again, nothing but great success. As me and Josue like to say, we're going to keep it on the 100. You're one of our favorite interviews. So, man, keep doing what you're doing, bro.
Man, y'all family, man. You know how we do.
Much love.
Absolutely.
All right, bro.
Appreciate you, Marc.
Take care, bro.
CLNS Media Network is powered by Fanduel Sportsbook. Visit fanduel.com/Boston and start earning bonus bets when you bet on a Super Bowl winner. You can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season.